All right, today we're going to dive into a single but absolutely powerhouse chapter from Genesis. We're talking about chapter 35. This is such a crucial turning point in the life of Jacob. Seriously, it's packed with everything: divine commands, just deep, profound loss, and the moment, the big moment, where Jacob is transformed into Israel, setting the stage for an entire nation. So, right out of the gate, the chapter kicks off with a direct command from God. And look, this isn't some casual suggestion, it's a clear call to action: go back to Beth-el. Now, Beth-el, that place is huge for Jacob. It's where he had that life changing dream, the ladder to heaven, all those years ago when he was running for his life from his brother Esau. So, God is basically telling him, you got to go back to the beginning before you can move forward.
But there's a catch. Before they can even pack their bags, we hit a pretty big snag. It turns out Jacob's household, well, they're holding on to what the text calls strange gods. Yeah, idols. Things they've picked up from all the other cultures around them. So even though Jacob himself has this covenant with God, his family is kinda spiritually messy. And he absolutely knows they have to deal with this before they can even think about moving on. And that brings us right to the first big theme of this chapter, this idea of purification. It's a cleansing journey. See, before Jacob can go build a new altar to God, he's got to clean up his own house first. We're talking both spiritually and physically. So Jacob lays out these instructions, and they're super clear and direct. It's a three-step process. First, get rid of the foreign gods. No more idols. Second, get clean. This probably means some kind of ceremonial washing. And third, change your clothes. And look, these aren't just random chores. Each one of these outward actions is a symbol of a much deeper internal change. It's all about preparing themselves to even be in God's presence. And they don't just, tuck the idols away in a closet. No, this is a final, definitive act. They hand everything over to Jacob, the idols and even their earrings, which, were often linked to pagan worship back in the day. And then Jacob takes it all and buries it under a big oak tree. It's this incredibly powerful physical moment of just cutting ties with the past, with all those false beliefs. So as they start their journey, God steps in and provides the shield of protection. The text says a terror of God fell on all the cities around them, so nobody dared to attack Jacob's family. And this was absolutely crucial. Why? Because you have to remember, two of Jacob's sons, Simeon and Levi, had recently gone on a rampage and massacred a whole town. So revenge was a very, very real possibility. This was God making sure they got through safely. Okay, so this whole journey of cleansing and divine protection, it's all been leading up to this, the climax of the chapter. They make it to Beth-el, and there Jacob has another face-to-face encounter with God. And this is the one that's going to change everything for him. It's where Jacob finally becomes Israel. And this is it. This is the moment. God himself speaks and renames him. And it's so much more than just a new title. It's a total declaration of a new identity, a new destiny. The man who was once Jacob is now Israel. And we can't overstate how huge this is. See, in the ancient world, a name wasn't just a label. It was your essence, your character, your destiny, all rolled into one. His old name, Jacob, it basically means supplanter or deceiver. I mean, that pretty much summed up his early years of scheming and trickery, right? But his new name, Israel, means one who strives with God. What a shift. This isn't just a nickname. It's a covenantal identity. He's moved from someone who fought against men to someone who engages with God. And along with this brand new name comes a renewal of that epic, timeless promise. God basically restates the exact same covenant he made with Abraham and Isaac, but now he's passing the torch directly to the man called Israel. He's promised he'll be fruitful and multiply, that a whole nation, even a company of nations, will come from him, that kings will be among his descendants, and of course, the land. This is the bedrock promise for the entire future of the nation of Israel. But just as we're on this incredible high point, the story takes a sharp, heartbreaking turn. The whiplash is intense. We go from the mountaintop of divine blessing right down into the valley of deep personal sorrow. A birth and a death all at once. So as the family is on the road again, Rachel, Jacob's beloved wife, she goes into labor. And it's a really, really hard labor. But right in the middle of all that pain, the midwife tries to encourage her, saying, "Don't be afraid, you have another son," the very thing she had always longed for. But that glimmer of joy, it's just gone in an instant.
The way the text puts it is so brutal and so simple. As she gives birth to her son, she dies. Just like that. Rachel, the absolute love of Jacob's life, is gone. And right here, in this one devastating moment, you see this powerful contrast between grief and hope. With her last breath, Rachel names the baby Ben-Oni, which means son of my sorrow. Can you even imagine? But Jacob, he steps in and renames him Benjamin, which means son of my right hand, a name of honor, of strength, of future. It's just wow. The journey continues, but believe me, it does not get any easier. The story now shifts from this deep personal grief to a shocking act of family sin, a moment of total disgrace that's going to have ripples for generations to come. It's a jaw-dropper. Reuben, the firstborn son, the heir, goes and sleeps with Bilhah. And Bilhah isn't just anybody. She's his father's concubine. And not only that, she was the personal handmaid to the recently deceased Rachel. The disrespect is just off the charts. Then the verse ends with 4 quiet, devastating words. And Israel heard it. That's it. The silence there just screams of the shame and the brokenness in that family. And right after that bombshell, the Bible does something fascinating. It just pauses the drama and gives us this very formal, very structured list of the 12 sons of Jacob and who their mothers were. The contrast is jarring, but it's intentional. It's like the story is telling us, yes, this family is deeply broken, full of sin and dysfunction. But don't forget, these are the guys. This is the foundation of the 12 tribes. God's plan is still moving forward, despite all the human mess. And that brings us to the end of the chapter, which is really the end of an era. This is where we see the book close on the previous generation and the torch is officially passed. So Jacob finally makes it back home to his father Isaac, and Isaac lives to be an incredible 180 years old. The Bible says he was old and full of days, which is just this beautiful way of saying he lived a complete life and had a peaceful end. And here's the final and maybe most poignant detail of Isaac's story. Who buries him? His sons, Esau and Jacob, together. These are the twin brothers whose bitter rivalry literally ripped the family apart for decades. And now, here they are, standing side by side in peace to bury their father. It's this quiet, powerful moment of reconciliation that really brings a huge part of their family's story to a close. So we're left with this really complex picture, aren't we? Genesis 35 gives us a family that is, without a doubt, chosen by God, blessed by God, and protected by God. And yet, at the same time, it's a family tangled up in idol worship, gut-wrenching grief, and just awful sin. It really leaves us with a big question to chew on. What does this incredibly raw and honest story tell us about what it actually looks like to fulfill a divine promise? Because it seems the path is often messy, complicated, and pretty painful.